1991, Sega was going to release their flagship game known as Sonic the Hedgehog for their new console, the Sega Genesis. Well, I guess it really wasn't that new at the time. And of course, they're doing all sorts of things to promote it. And one of those things was a comic book released around the same time as the game. This would be one of the first pieces of media ever to depict the Blue Hedgehog. And of course, will start his long career in the comic book industry. Sonic will go on to have a ton of comics. So let's look at the one that started it all, the Sonic the Hedgehog 1 promotional comic. This issue, which was released in 1991, the fall to be exact, which actually came out after the game came out, to be honest, features art by Greg Martin, only on the cover only. We know him for doing a bunch of Sonic classic covers, as well as other video game console artwork. He's done a lot of artwork. But the inside story and art is done by Francis Mao, who wrote and colored the whole story. So let's take a look inside. The story is pretty basic. It starts out with Sonic and familiar badniks fighting Eggman. The only main difference is that Sonic has his mohawk, which he definitely doesn't have in the games, but that's how it looked in the American box art. Basically, Sonic is here to fight Dr. Robotnik and all of his badnik hordes and try to save his animal bud. After saving his little buddies here, Sonic's like, we can't stop Eggman because, well, sorry, I said Eggman, he's Robotnik in this story. He's like, because he's my old friend, known as Dr. Kintobor. If you don't know, this comic certainly partly adapts what was known as the Sonic Bible. Sega of America created their own backstory for the character that really did not appear in any media outside of this and the Fleetway comic. This Bible also gave the animal buddies names, which are not their official names. Like, for example, the rabbit there, his official name is Pocky, was called Johnny Lightfoot. And the little squirrel guy there, wherever it is, I'm actually Chipmunk maybe, was whose name is Ricky, by the way, was given the name Sally Acorn. That one's the most important one for obvious reasons. This backstory from the Sonic Bible is known as the Kintobor backstory because it tells the story of a brown hedgehog whose name is Sonic, who helps out a doctor named Dr. Kintobor. If you couldn't guess, Dr. Kintobor is Robotnik backwards, really creative. And he has a plan to wipe out all evil using these Chaos Emeralds, who don't look anything like the Chaos Emeralds in the actual game, that somehow is going to vanquish every bit of evil in the universe. And Sonic here, who's a little brown hedgehog, is going to help. Also, according to the scientists, Sonic is incredibly weird and unique because, well, look at his design there. It's kind of hideous looking, to be exact. Yeah, these are the only two characters other than the animal buddies that we see, so maybe this is kind of a weird looking character design. Anyway, Sonic has white shoes, he's got his gloves, but he's a brown hedgehog with a bunch of quills. Sonic then runs on his treadmill, which is totally not stolen from DC Comics, and he over-ramps it by running really fast. This is before he was always a fast hedgehog, that's why he's called Sonic, but apparently, in order to get him to be blue, he has to run super fast on this treadmill. So somehow running on the treadmill really fast makes Sonic blue, and it ruins his lovely white sneakers, but that's okay. Dr. Kintobor decides that he's going to make some frictionless shoes for Sonic, which is how he got his iconic red sneaks. So we know how Sonic came to be. How did Dr. Kintobor become Dr. Robotnik? Well, I'll tell you, it's pretty stupid, actually. He's like, Sonic, can I get a hard-boiled egg and a soda? Yeah, despite the fact this character is no longer Eggman, because they changed his name, there's a lot of things referencing to eggs. Like, he'll instead of saying Einstein's theory of relativity, he'll say Eggstein's theory, and a bunch of other weird things like that. And his story has to do with eggs, and his breath smells like eggs. This is something that's more notable in the Fleetway Sonic comic. I only mentioned the things Sonic brings to him, because it seems like a noteworthy thing. But you see, he spills the soda on top of the machine, which I mean, come on, Klutz. And then that shocks him, including all the rings that were in there as well. And since he's holding a hard-boiled egg, he becomes egg-shaped. I'm not joking. This is their backstory that the Sega of America came up for this stuff. I don't know why. I don't know why do they think why. I don't know. Just this guy holding a hard-boiled egg makes him turn into an egg-shaped man. You can't make this stuff up. Anyway, what actually really happened here is that he absorbed all the evil and negative energy, erasing all that was once of Dr. Kintobor, becoming Dr. Robotnik, who looked like his classic game design. Of course, after Adventure Sonic the Hedgehog, which drastically redesigned him, as well as the Archie/ZDM also redesigned the character. During the classic era of North America, in Europe too. Eggman did not look like he looked in the game. He looked like this freakishly ugly thing, but I'm pretty sure y'all know about that. So it's kind of refreshing to see an actual version of the character in the game, in this comic, look like how cute he does in the game. The rest of the comic really doesn't have that much interesting things going on. It's mostly just Sonic running through the levels. It's nice to see the enemies and level dynamics of Sonic 1 here. I went through the Archie comics by reading them, but I might do like an actual review style video like this, where I go into them more in depth, in a better way. But yeah, essentially they don't adapt certain elements that well compared to how this comic does, even though this comic isn't like the most extreme thing in the world, but it is cool to get. It's like, hey, look this is why this is happening, that's pretty neat. I'm mentioning this panel right here because Sonic's swimming. Sonic can't swim. Why is he swimming here? Maybe they weren't aware of that, but in the game he doesn't swim, so maybe they thought he could. He can't swim, but he's swimming here. Also, this comic misinterpreted Starlight Zone as an amusement park. It isn't an amusement park, it's a city that has loop-de-loops. I can understand why they would think that way, because basically every Sonic's level is designed like it's a roller coaster ride, but no, Starlight Zone is not an amusement park, it's just a city in the sky. The comic is near the end, and oddly enough, you can see that Robotnik's like cape thing is just like two little strands rather than being one cape there. It's kind of interesting. And anyway, he is trying to get the Chaos Emerald or Chaos Sphere, more like the, or oval, rectangle, not rectangle. It doesn't matter. It's called an emerald. It looks like an oval. In the game, as we know, they don't look like ovals, so I don't know why they're looking like that. Anyway, he's put out a little trick for Sonic. He's like, you gotta choose, Sonic, either save this pig guy who I have strapped to this trap, or I get the emerald. You choose. Sonic chooses to save his friends, but that's okay. Sonic likes to save the day. And that's pretty much where it ends. Sonic tells his animal buddies that he will get Robotnik, and you can too by buying Sonic the Hedgehog for the Sega Genesis. Of course, this is not the storyline in Sonic 1. Not even the North American manual says this. Like I said, this whole Kintobor backstory was not used that often. It was on the Sega website, it was in the Fleetway comic, and this promotional comic. But other than that, it was not in the cartoons, any of the video games, ever. It's a very weird little piece of Sonic history that tries to explain things that I guess really didn't need an explanation, and honestly the explanation they gave us isn't really that great. We have all these other unique characters. Why is it weird for Sonic to be blue? Maybe at the beginning they thought, hey, well, everyone else looks, I guess, kind of normal, so we'll give a reason why he's blue. But in the future, this honestly became kind of useless point to make. Sonic's just a blue hedgehog because that's just how his world works. He's fast. Also, this comic doesn't really explain how he got super fast. He was just already fast. But alright. I think the Fleetway kind of does something different with that, but who really knows? Anyway, that was Sonic the promotional comic. It would be interesting to see where it would have went if this was like a full-on comic series, but it hasn't. It's alright. It's a very interesting piece of Sonic history. And if you like Sonic like me, I recommend giving it a read. It's actually very short since it was just a promotional piece of media. Finding it in person, though, was a little bit hard to see because it was only released for a short amount of time as promotional material. It used to be actually a lot more expensive, but it looks like it's gone down in price. It is no longer the most expensive piece of Sonic comic book media, but for a while it is, and if you get it graded, I guess, which I'm not really into graded stuff. I do have a graded comic, but that's about it. It's a very interesting piece of Sonic history, let's just say that. Thanks for watching this video, and if you want me to cover more Sonic media, like comics or anything else similar to that, let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching.